Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at SoberCoffeePod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
You know, if this were a job, I would say I love my job. If it were a job, like if we were getting, I don't know, paid.
Even at 4 a.m. on Saturday mornings,
Even at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning,
yeah.
I'm so energized right now just thinking about our last week guest that we had, Paige, and she's going to join us again this week. Paige is in the coffee shop with us, and it's just exciting to do what we're able to do. It's just amazing.
I have so much going on in my brain. I'm just trying to grab it and hold on to it. I know I love having guests.
Yeah, I love the coffee shop. It's just it's a good place to be. You know, focused on sobriety and I think last week Paige is back with us this week.
Hi,
and
Paige.
If you haven't listened, go back and listen to last week's episode. But we talked about we landed the plane by talking about change. You know, how everything changed and. In my life and my sobriety, and Glenn, with you, I know that you started from ground zero. I mean, you had nothing when you started. So you didn't even, maybe you had a bad relationship or two that you were still hanging on to, but you had no profession. You had no place to live. It mandated change for you. You couldn't stay in that scenario. And the same thing for me. Change was mandated. I mean, I needed change.
So I think in the big book it refers to, psychic change.
Yes, right.
It says you're going to go through. You have to have a psychic change,
right.
And so part of it we were chit chatting with Paige, as we're getting our next cup refill,
right.
and we were talking about identity,
mm-hmm.
And it's funny and just how it changes, and we're going to bounce to her here in a second, but for me, I mean, I am a different person today
totally.
than I was, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I went through that psychic change,
mm-hmm.
And for me, it's, Paige has a three-month program that's amazing. I am on the slow train. It's hard for me to get out of my own way, but just such an identity shift, from where I was to who I am today.
Oh, 180 degrees.
There are people that knew me back in that day and now I interact with today, and they're like, I have to relearn you. Like you're totally like what mattered then, you could care less about now.
And before I was like, if for those old enough to know, I was like Dean Martin. I mean, I always had a drink in my hand. I mean, I had a drink in my hand at 10 o'clock. I had a beer in my hand. At noon, I had a vodka in my hand, and at night, I had a whiskey in my hand. I always had something in my hand, and I was crude jokes, irresponsible, all these bad attributes, all these disconnects of who I really wanted to be, and I didn't know what I wanted until my identity actually changed. So, wow, that was a long intro. Paige, welcome back.
Hi, Paige.
You got us fired up, Paige. I don't think it's just the caffeine. I think you got us fired up. So
let's go, Coach.
Yeah. So talk. First of all, it's your program it's your title is Sober Curious Coach, right?
Yes.
Okay. Your program doesn't just last 3 months and then it's good luck, good riddance, and I hope you do well on your journey. I imagine the relationship continues after this 3-month container that you put people through, and then it's an ongoing relationship, I assume, right?
Yes, exactly. I do continue coaching people after the 3-month container ends. That's kind of the entry point. And then all my alumni who have gone through that program have the opportunity to work with me long term, kind of like you're a therapist every other week or something.
Right. That's great. That's great. What's the thing that makes you most fulfilled about what you're doing right now? What is it that really gets you excited, like in a purposeful way?
Oh my gosh. It's just helping people.
Just helping people.
Simple as that. Seeing the way that people take what we work on together and use it to change their lives is the coolest thing that I've ever been able to witness. And it's what drew me to doing this full time, because I had a successful corporate career. I was working for a decade in corporate strategy and change management, and I had it really good, but I felt like it was sucking my soul. I didn't feel that I was adding value to the world and leaving the world a better place. So I was doing this on the side for quite a while, and I would just be seeing clients in the evenings and on the weekends. And every single time I would come out of a client session, my heart would just be swelling with so much gratitude and fulfillment to be able to help people in this way and truly make a difference in other women's lives. So I just knew that feeling I could not ignore. And I tried to ignore it for a few years because I was like, oh, I can't leave this salary. Like it just doesn't make sense. I just can't make sense of it. But finally, I had the courage to actually leave and focus all my energy and attention on this, because I truly am so confident that this is my purpose and this is how I am meant to give back to the world in a bigger way.
You know, I had a little get together at my house a couple of weeks ago, and with my daughter and a couple of people from our AA circle, and my daughter was there, and this one fellow that I work with was there, and he said right in the middle of the conversation, he said, "You know, Rachel, my daughter," he said, "your father saved my life." And he didn't just say it one time. Then he said, "No, he saved my life. He saved my life." All the money in the world. Now, I was uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. I was uncomfortable being in that spot at that moment. I'm like, oh, come on, dude. You know, but the reality is, you can't pay me enough money to that feeling inside of me, that feeling that I had done something really, really right in the world. And I think he would have found his way to sobriety without me. You know, don't get me wrong, but he didn't. We crossed paths at the right moment. It was days before the pandemic hit. It was the second week of March of 2020, and he was a lost puppy. And as a matter of fact, all the rooms of AA, right? The whole thing is on, like your whole coaching thing is on these weekly meetings, right? It's really important to meet those. Could you imagine not being able to do that after week one of somebody's first session? Then week two, you got no way to communicate with them. So anyway, he made it through. So this is so super exciting what you do, and I can see that it's very fulfilling for you. What's your greatest challenges that you're facing right now? And not business-wise, but what are some of the challenges that you get hit with that you have to coach people through? What is it? What are some of the great challenges that you're helping people through?
I think the hardest thing for the women that I have worked with is the social aspect. Because a lot of the women that come to me are using alcohol and have used alcohol their entire lives to connect with other friends. And that's how they really get their social fulfillment. So that in itself is a huge challenge to overcome, because not only do you have to, like you said, change the people that you're around, but you also have to change the types of situations that you find yourself in. And that requires some major work to want to do that and to prioritize doing that. So a lot of times women get pulled back into these social settings where they think, okay, I'm gonna be fine now. I've done some work on this. I'm gonna go to this party or go to this wedding and just like see how it goes. And a lot of times that's when the slip-ups happen. And the same was true for me. Whenever I was going to those special occasions, I would completely just blow it out of proportion and end up blacking out. So a lot of times that's what happens with my clients. And I'm never upset when that happens. Of course, it's your own journey, but it gives us really good information and really good data to work with, because that situation is directly pointing to the different triggers that the client has personally. And we get to work on those and go deeper on those. So it actually helps throughout the process. And I always tell my clients as part of the process, like having these slip-ups in terms of this coaching container, this is part of the process, because we have to figure out and stress test these different situations to see where you're at and figure out what more work needs to be done in order for you to feel fully like you can show up and be sober and not care about alcohol.
That's great. So what part of the program do you start to talk about identity? Is that pretty early on? And then what are some of the exercises or engagements that you do to really kind of do some work on the identity? Is it purposeful or is it just a byproduct of doing all the other components of your program?
Yeah, it really is a byproduct. It's intentional, though. The program is built around this methodology that alcohol is really the entry point, and that's how I meet people, and that's how we start working together. But the end goal is identity expansion, shifting your identity into someone who does not want to drink. And we do that through the various modules that we go through. And it happens because we're rewiring the brain, essentially. And we're doing that through education, through journaling and self-discovery, through experiences. I'll give like homework assignments that are little challenges, like, okay, now try and go to this and don't drink, or try to take an inventory of like how you're feeling throughout the week and the cravings that are coming up. So give them these little challenges. So they get that through experiences. And then on top of that, overcoming hard things and having to lay those boundaries and being someone who says, okay, I've done this, I've completed this program, that shifts something in your brain. That changes the way that you relate to yourself and how you see yourself. And that's really where everything else starts to blossom. When the client has that realization that I am no longer the old version of me. I am this new person who thinks of myself as capable, confident, able to connect with people, able to relax, able to actually give myself what I need without turning to substance. That's the point at which everything in their reality starts to shift. And that's why I see all these crazy things come in, like job offers, new relationships, just health getting so much better, because you see yourself differently. And when you see yourself differently, you show up differently. You treat people differently. You treat your body differently. And that's really like where all the good stuff happens.
I love it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know, it's what I love about this last week's session, today's session, is Glenn and I were talking off camera or off mic the other recently, and we've said it before. You know, people say AA doesn't work, right? Which is just a bad sentence, because AA worked really well for Glenn and I, right? So we're living proof that AA does work. It might not work for that person, and that's how they should have concluded their statement. What I love for this, and you said something, because it doesn't sound to me like you're anti-AA. You just said, look, if it intimidates you, you're just another option out there, a fresh, if you will, a fresh approach to achieving the same thing. The process is the same. You know, alcohol was our admission ticket into AA, right? And abstinence was the first call to action. But then there was a process that we went through. We worked through 12 steps. It sounds to me like you have alcohol as your entry. You've got this process, these steps that you're taking, and then you've got maintenance and that you have to continue on if you want to remain possessor of this beautiful life that you have, right? So what I love about this is that women in this particular case, and you know, will be able to expand and check something out. If AA, if they don't feel, look, I just don't want somebody to miss out on what they could have if they could have something that is less intimidating or whatever. And so I applaud you for doing what you're doing, because you know, AA doesn't work for everybody, because it doesn't work for them, because they won't allow it to. They won't hit that point of surrender where they say, "All right, I'll do this." You're giving them another option. Is it a crowded field that you're in right now?
I wouldn't say it's crowded, but there are definitely a lot of sober coaches out there. Mm-hmm. I think what makes me a bit different in that sense is that I have extensive education around these different modalities. So I'm not just a coach. I come with a decade of corporate experience. I'm very organized. I have like this full-blown platform set up. And in addition to that, I have the energetic side where we're doing a lot of somatic work as part of the process. So it makes it a little bit different. And on top of all of that, I do work with people who are sober curious, hence the name.
Right.
So if people's goal is just to heal their relationship with alcohol and get to a point where they can mindfully drink, I do help people with that too. Mm-hmm. And I've had plenty of clients come through wanting to just be able to cut back and only have a drink when they really want to, for the taste and for the experience, not to lean on it for support. And I've seen people be very successful with that. I personally couldn't do that myself.
I can't do
And
it.
I know. I'm just sitting here thinking.
I know.
I'm thinking, man, if I knew Paige 12 years ago, maybe that would have worked.
Right.
Maybe I could have,
Well,
mended my relationship.
first of all, she won't coach you because you're a guy.
Oh, dude, that's right.
Right.
That's right. I forgot that.
So question for you is, how does somebody how does somebody find out out about you? How do they connect with you? Social media the best play? Website?
Where's the billboards?
Yeah, where's the billboards?
Yeah, social media has been the main spot where I've met most of my clients, especially on TikTok, which is, I think, where I met you guys.
Okay. No, you met Glenn. I'm so behind the times. Right.
And also I have a website where people can learn more about the work that I do, about my story, and find more information there. I also have a free online community that is for women who are sober curious, who are focused on, less alcohol, focused on creating more meaningful and purposeful lives. So I have that group where we are in contact. We have like weekly workshops and sessions. So that's a great place to start.
And the website is where they can go to plug into the free community and the TikTok. Can they link right from there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the link from TikTok too. So people should be.
So what is the web address?
PaigeCalentino.com.
PaigeCalentino.com. For those that are driving right now, just check out our Sober.Coffee /resource room, and we'll have a link up there consistent with this episode, so you can get to Paige right from Paige's website, right from our website. But yeah, this has been great. What do you face any real challenge? What are you growing? What are you working on to grow right now in your own life? What's the next platform for you? What's the next step?
I think honestly, starting my own business has been a huge expander, and it's just shown me parts of myself that I didn't know that I was capable of. It's been much harder than I thought it would be, but it's been a good thing, I think, because I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I'm still learning all the time. I would say that's like my biggest growth area right now is using the business and kind of how I'm showing up, and that the new identity that I'm stepping into as a business owner, as a full-time coach, and really starting to internalize that. Because I think for so long we have this idea of ourselves that like we're only capable of doing so much. And I never saw myself as someone who was running a successful business, because I was working in corporate for years, and I thought that was the path for me. I thought that that's what my life was going to look like forever. So I think stepping into this new chapter has been really scary. It's also been really exciting and really fulfilling. And I'm working on those things every day with the work that I do, especially as it relates to showing up on social media, because that is something that no one prepares you for. Having to film yourself talking and just putting yourself out there and being really vulnerable, just being seen by people, I think has been something that's been a big growth area for me, especially like, sharing my story, because there was a lot of shame there for a long time about the way that I was living and kind of what I've been through. So opening up about that publicly has been tough. And like on TikTok, there are tons of people on there. Some people are going to be super supportive. There's also other people who are going to be super nasty about the things that you share. And it's like that with any topic. It doesn't really matter. Right. But people get very pissed off when you start to talk about alcohol, because, and I'm sure you have
very
seen
defensive.
This
Sure.
Very defensive. It's very triggering because it makes people
self-reflect. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Look at their own behaviors, and it can really make people upset when you are saying things like, your life's going to improve when you stop drinking.
That's right.
People don't like that.
Right.
So
that's great, though. I love your TikTok. You have such a powerful TikTok page. I mean, that's where I connected. We Mikey, we connected with you right on that TikTok page, Paige Sober Curious Coach. Just a lot of valuable nuggets, just doing life. You show where, sobriety wins. You know, and I know people that are drinking and drinking heavy, even sober curious people, they feel the pain of drinking. And when you can scroll through and say, "Hey, man," it gives people hope. You know, I think it's amazing.
Okay, so this may irritate some people, but I'm going to give you the last, however long you need. I need you right now not to talk to Mike and Glenn, but talk to the sober curious out there. They're listening right now. They're curious. Go ahead, give them your best shot to pull them into a better way to live.
I love this. Alcohol is the one thing that if you take it away from your life is going to have impact that is far outsized. It is going to transform every single part of your life. And it's hard to really wrap your head around it when you are drinking, because it seems like, oh, I'm just, having a few beers a week. What's the big deal? I'm maybe curious in becoming sober or maybe cutting back, but I don't really see what the big deal is. People don't understand how big of an impact it has. And it comes back to that identity. It comes back to when you think of yourself in a different way and you hold yourself to a higher standard, you show up as a different person. And so you get this impact that's like a physical, mental, emotional, your time, your hobbies, all these things really start to compound over time. And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It doesn't have to be like you decide today that you're never going to drink again. And I say that because that was my story. I never intended to be fully sober. I thought I just was going to cut back and I was going to get control over my binge drinking. But I ended up alcohol free now for 3.5 years. And it started with awareness and just having more awareness around the ways that you're drinking, why you're drinking, how it's impacting your life. And once you start to really be present with that and be mindful about what's actually happening in your life related to alcohol, that's why I love journaling, because it helps you to pull those threads. You can't unsee it. When you start to have that awareness, it grows and it builds over time to the point where you can't ignore it anymore. And that's really like how anyone that's sober curious can get started, is just being more mindful and being more aware. So you don't have to decide today if you're never going to drink again. If you just start to be more aware, you get on the journey and you start on that path that may lead you to more mindful drinking, or it may lead you to being fully sober. But you're never going to figure out what's best for you unless you give yourself the space to explore that. And that's really what the coaching container is all about.
I think the minute you become sober curious is the minute you realize drinking's not serving me the way it used to. Something's wrong. I think being sober curious is like the first step on the path.
And I think you've opened the door to hope.
It's great, Paige.
You've opened the door to hope. PaigeCalentino.com. Thank you so much, Paige.
Hey, Paige, quick question.
Yeah.
Where are you based out of?
I'm in San Diego.
Oh,
I love it. No, I saw one of your recent TikToks. Like, you've been all over the world doing all kinds of cool stuff, sober, and I was just thinking, man, where's she out of? Yeah, San Diego's beautiful.
thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing hope today.
Thanks, Paige.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.